What I find really interesting about the Creative Citizens Project is that, you know, look at this building we're in today. We're in Moseley Exchange, and we've got a group of community partners. We've got a sort of media, creative hub space, energy and excitement. And we've got academics from across different disciplines, from media studies, from digital technology, from sociology, from arts and humanities. And they've all come together in order to kind of explore questions, problems, and develop ideas and new ways of thinking, new practices around the notion of quite what it means to work creatively in a contemporary Britain. And in order to, I think anyway, what interests me about it, because of my kind of activist research background, in order to think about ways in which we use culture, creativity, technology for social change, for social development, for social innovation.
The central part of our remit is to protect the interests of both consumers and citizens in the UK, and we regulate the media, broadcast media, and local media is a really important part of that. But over the last few years there have been some big changes in the local media landscape. You may have seen that ITV has been changing the format and reducing the length of its regional news programmes. The local press has been having really bad economic problems with competition from the internet, and several local television stations are going to be licensed over the next few months. So we're very interested in the whole local media landscape, where it's going, and hyperlocal is a really interesting and important part of that. And so we're really happy to help support this project to understand and learn a bit more about where all this is going.
Well, for us it was a really interesting exploration of the way different people work together. At our organisation we work to support different members of the community coming together and working creatively together around place. So it just seemed a very natural fit to us.
So it's a really interesting project for Nesta. The work that we've been doing recently with the Neighbourhood Challenge has just sort of coming to a natural end, and that project was all about understanding the role of citizens in solving local problems, tackling local issues in their own way, and that requires, you know, creativity and skills to, I guess, you know, deal with unknowns and to create new projects and new ideas.
In the time that I've been running South Blessed, I've actually had to run for a lot of funding, and you kind of have to construct things in a way that fit into another box to be able to apply for the funding, so that you can then apply it to the overall kind of scale of things that you've got inside of your head. So that's why I was interested in this, because I could see that what they wanted to research is what I'm doing. So essentially any idea that I have would be relevant, and in that way it seemed like it was going to be like a harmonious relationship.
For us, it was an opportunity to find out what's happening elsewhere, and to see what this creative citizen idea might be. We're a community-based co-working space, so I guess for us the notion of brokerage for the creative citizen is very important, and Moseley is a creative place in Birmingham is a key thing for us.
Well, I'm most interested in the strand of work around hyperlocal media, and we've seen some great results already. In my days in public policy, I often wished that we would get fresh, original, up-to-the-minute research from the academic sector reflected in national statistics, so that we can make decisions based on it. And one of the joys of this project has been a modern approach to publication.
Well, we've got some initial findings, and we've done a few workshops with the communities now. So I think things are going pretty much as we expected. We're starting to see if our ideas are, you know, working and gelling with what communities themselves actually think.
Well, in the next 6 months, we're really pleased with the progress so far, and in fact we published the first phase of the hyperlocal project in our annual communications market report, which was last summer, and that has some really valuable information on the taxonomy of hyperlocal media. So how many sites were out there, what sort of content they were doing, how much content they were doing. So that was a really good first phase.
It's a rapidly changing landscape around us, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about looking at media now, is that everything is changing so quickly. I know within our organisation 6 months ago we were operating very differently from the way we are now, and 6 months ago, in 6 months' time I imagine it will be different still, and I think one of the interesting things about this research project will be, in a sense, mapping the journey of the organisations involved, providing tools that are fitting into that journey, but also really taking account of the context around us.
You know, as somebody who's created stories kind of for their whole life, you spend different amount of energies kind of putting into stories, and sometimes you make a story and nothing happens with it, and sometimes it does happen with it. But I kind of having to go back into that kind of epic creative mode and just respect the energy that it's going to take to do it. So while still doing other stuff, you know, putting genuine time aside to just think and be creative and try and get the best idea possible that I can.
So I think the main thing would be to make sure that the engagement with communities continues to inform the practice and the project, and to make the research findings very useful, you know, more usable. I think there was a strong desire to ground what we're doing in practice and in, you know, real communities. So I think more engagement and more iterations are probably on the cards.
What I'm looking forward to next is getting a sense of the demand side behind hyperlocal media. So understanding who's using these sites, how much are they using them, and what sort of content do they want, and how much they value these sites. What impact is it having on people as citizens?
I'm particularly interested in Glasshouse and what the guys in Bristol are doing, because I think they come out of a similar demographic to us, and I think that insights into what they're doing will be very useful. We also have a researcher now based, I think, a day a week here, hopefully, and that will give us some, I think, coordinating or liaising between the people in the exchange. So I think one of the issues we'd like to find out is what more we can do to kind of network for business and for, you know, this notion of social capital downstairs that I think we could do more of.
Many of these websites have very strong local audiences with strong local connections, but they're really small in advertising terms. And almost none of them manage to express their output in a way that a conventional ad buyer, a busy person trying to make important decisions on behalf of a company, can actually grasp. Because a lot of these businesses are very raw, they're very new, or they're community-led enterprises. But the audiences do have value in aggregate. So anything, very keen to see, and I'm talking to the team about how you can aggregate the audience of a city like Birmingham, or let's say a rural shire or some sort of relevant area, and then present that aggregate audience size in metrics that will be understood by someone who's out there trying to buy advertising on behalf of their clients.
I think for me, Creative Citizen is an interesting concept because it's got this notion of we can all do something on the web, and that we are all empowered to do something creative in a creative way, which I think is good. This space, in terms of Moseley Exchange, does a lot of, if you like, artistic-based work without economic value, but maybe some's got economic value, but a lot's got around community-based value, which is, I think, very important. However, I suppose one of my issues is about, you know, creative citizens still need brokerage. I think they need, if they want to make a living, and they want some economic value, and even maybe some social value out of their work. So brokerage, how they network together, I think is really important.
It just seems to be people who have creative urges, who use those urges to help the communities around them, so that the citizens side of it is to do with the relationship between the person and the community, the person and their direct environment around them, whether that be physical buildings or whether that be online communities, which then go into the kind of real and physical world itself.
I mean, for us, it, I suppose, is a reminder about everything that we do being rooted in both creativity and a sense of a role in a larger group of people.
For me, I'll talk about my personal experience. I run a website in North London that has about 1,500 articles on an area that's a mile long by half a mile wide. Those articles vary in length from 50 words to a couple of thousand words, and the subjects covered cover everything from dog shit outside my house all the way through to trying to build a case for corporate manslaughter against Transport for London as a result of cyclist deaths. And there is no doubt that that is a creative endeavour, and it is quite literally done by citizens. There's a whole range of activities there that speak to me around the phrase creative citizen. But at the heart of it has to be, and as you can tell, I'm making this up as I go along, is the sense that when people talk or express themselves in their role as a citizen, they're talking about things that influence the public sphere. Using these web media, they are doing essentially forms of what an academic might call creative writing, but it's being done with a civic purpose. And perhaps that's what it means to me, really. It's creative writing, it's creating artworks, it's creating narratives that have a civic purpose.